Hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. If you're a DIY investor, someone who manages their own investments without a financial advisor, Fidelity is a great platform to be on. Alongside Vanguard and Charles Schwab, it consistently ranks at the top for individual investors. Rock bottom fees, no account minimums, a great platform, and some of the lowest cost index funds in the industry. But what specific funds to invest in if you are or considering investing with Fidelity? Well, a great question, and that is what I want to tackle today. In today's video, we're going to deep dive into 5 best Fidelity funds for 2026 and beyond. Before we dive in, I do want to let you know that I put together a free one-page reference guide that covers all 5 funds, ticker symbols, key stats, and a quick breakdown of what each one is for. I don't want you scrambling to write things down because I'll be covering a lot of facts here. The link to download is in the description below, so go ahead and grab it now if you want to follow along with the video. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. The number 1 best Fidelity fund is the classic Fidelity Total Market Index Fund, aka FSKAX. Let's go over the big numbers. FSKAX carries an expense ratio of 0.015%. That translates to about $1.50 a year on a $10,000 investment. Ironically, the same price as Costco's famous Quarter Pounder hot dog. It tracks the Dow Jones US Total Stock Market Index, holds roughly 4,000 companies, and requires no minimum to get started. If you were to have invested your money in a total US market fund like FSKAX for the past decade, you would have seen your money grow at an average annualized rate of roughly 15% per year. That means a $10,000 investment a decade ago will be worth over $40,000 today. But I want to go beyond the numbers because the returns aren't actually the main reason I recommend this fund. Here's the core idea. When you invest in a total market fund like FSKAX, you stop trying to predict the future. You don't have to figure out which company will be the next big thing. You don't have to guess which sector is going to lead the decade. Apple, Nvidia, and Amazon, down to the smallest publicly traded company in the market. Additionally, because the fund is a reflection of the market, it is continually updating itself as the investable landscape changes. As competitive companies rise and struggling companies fall, the index fund automatically reflects all those changes. You don't have to try to pick. You don't need to do anything except to just buy and hold. Now here's a special note for Fidelity investors. Fidelity offers something no other major brokerage firm does. A genuinely free version of this total US market representation. Introducing the Fidelity Zero Total Market Index Fund, aka FZROX. It doesn't just have a low expense ratio, it has no expense ratio. That is right. Its expense ratio is 0%, completely free to invest in this fund. But of course, Fidelity is not doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They, like any other companies out there, are in the business to make money. So let me share a few interesting facts about this fund. 1. This fund is a marketing strategy, a classic loss leader strategy. What Fidelity is hoping to do via a fund like this is to attract new customers and bring them into the Fidelity ecosystem. And once they're well nested inside the ecosystem, to eventually cross-sell them into other products that actually make money. Brokerage accounts, financial advisory services, actively managed funds, and more. 2. The index and the company count. FSKAX tracks the Dow Jones US Total Stock Market Index, a well-established, widely used benchmark that covers roughly 4,000 companies. But because Fidelity is trying to save money with FZROX, what they've done is create their own in-house proprietary index, the Fidelity US Total Investable Market Index. And this index holds fewer companies than the Dow Jones US Total Stock Market Index, about 2,500. And the reason is because it excludes most small cap companies. Now, does this make that much of a difference overall? Not really, because the fund composition is based on market cap. But it is good to know what you're buying or not buying with FZROX. And 3, this is the most important fact about FZROX, portability, or more specifically, lack thereof. Because the fund tracks a Fidelity proprietary index, it is only available at Fidelity, which means if you ever decide to move your investments elsewhere, you cannot transfer FZROX shares in kind. You have to sell first. And if you held the fund in a taxable account for years and it's grown significantly, that sale triggers a capital gains tax event. And this really is the lock-in Fidelity is counting on. They offer the zero-cost fund, you accumulate a large position over the years, and the tax consequence of ever leaving becomes a powerful reason to stay. Alright, so what should you do? If you know for 100% you'll likely stay with Fidelity for the foreseeable future, I say, why not FZROX? You can have the cake and eat it too. However, if you have any inkling of doubt, just go with FSKAX. The 0.015% expense ratio is an amazingly low price to pay to keep your options open. Either way, a total US market index fund should be a core component of any solid portfolio. Fidelity Fund number 2 is the Fidelity Total International Index Fund, FTIHX. Again, let's go over the big numbers. FTIHX has an expense ratio of 0.06%, which means for every $10,000 invested, you pay $6 per year, the price of a nice cup of hot Americano these days. It tracks the MSCI ACWI All Country World Index, excluding USA Investment Market Index, and holds approximately 5,000 companies across developed and emerging markets. Companies like Taiwan Semiconductor from Taiwan, ASML from Netherlands, Nestle from Switzerland, and Samsung from South Korea. So why consider adding a fund like FTIHX to your portfolio? Well, here are the facts. Today, there are roughly 195 countries in the world, and the United States represent just one of them. Now, United States is the largest economy in the world, and American companies like Google, Amazon, and Apple are some of the most innovative companies in the world. And by all accounts, they will likely continue to perform relatively well going forward. However, we also have to recognize that we live in a world where there are more unknowns than knowns. The Japanese stock market at the peak of 1989 was the largest in the world, many predicting it to overtake the American economy. However, it crashed catastrophically, losing nearly 80% of its value over the following years. The British stock market tells a similar story. In the early 20th century, Britain was the financial capital of the world, and the London Stock Exchange dominated global markets. The British Empire accounted for roughly 25% of the world's GDP, and investors saw no ceiling in sight. Yet as the century unfolded, driven by 2 world wars and the fall of the empire, Britain's dominance gradually eroded. Now, am I saying something similar will happen to the United States? As someone who is heavily invested in it, I truly hope not. I prefer to be an optimist rather than a pessimist because, let's admit it, pessimists are no fun. But I also like to consider myself to be a pragmatist because, as we mentioned earlier, we just don't know what tomorrow will bring. And in an uncertain world, one of the best strategies to mitigate risk is via diversification. And if you want to diversify beyond the US stock market, a fund like FTIHX gives you an excellent way to do exactly that. Spreading your investments across thousands of companies in dozens of countries so that no single nation's misfortune can define your financial future. Now again, a special note for Fidelity investors. Just like FSKAX, Fidelity offers a zero-fee version, the Fidelity Zero International Index Fund, aka FZILX at 0%. The same loss leader logic applies, and the same trade-off exists. And when it comes to an index it tracks, there is also a notable distinction. FTIHX tracks the MSCI ACWI, excluding US Investment Market Index, one of the most widely recognized international benchmarks in the world, and holds approximately 5,000 companies across both developed and emerging markets. FZILX tracks Fidelity's proprietary Global Excluding US Index, which holds roughly 2,000 to 2,500 companies and focuses exclusively on large and mid-cap stocks. Small-cap international companies are excluded. That said, both companies are still market cap weighted, meaning the largest international companies still dominate. The top holdings, Taiwan Semiconductor, ASML, Samsung, Nestle, appear in both. The correlation between the two funds is high, and the performance difference over time is pretty minimal, but if you want the fullest possible international diversification, FTIHX is the more complete version. Additionally, the portability situation is identical to FZROX. FZILX cannot be transferred to another brokerage without selling, and in a taxable account, that means a potential tax bill. One final thing before we move to the next Fidelity fund. The big question: how much to allocate to international? A few thoughts. If you want your international holdings to represent the actual global stock market capitalization, you can go as high as 40%. However, if you're just starting to add international to your portfolio, 20% is a good place to start. Some go as low as 0, and I think that is totally fine as well. In today's interconnected world, so many US companies are already operating as international companies. Thus, you're already gaining some indirect international exposure, whether you seek it out or not. Bottom line, there is no right or wrong answer here. So pick a percentage that makes sense to you, understand why you chose it, and stay consistent. Fidelity Fund number 3 is the Fidelity US Bond Index Fund, FXNAX. The numbers. At 0.025% expense ratio, this translates to just $2.50 per year on $10,000. The fund tracks the Bloomberg US Aggregate Bond Index, which holds over 8,000 individual bonds, including US Treasuries, corporate bonds, and mortgage-backed securities. Now, I want to be honest with you about bonds because a lot of people get this wrong in both directions. Some investors load up on bonds too early. They get nervous. They want stability. They sacrifice decades of growth potential for a sense of comfort they don't actually need yet. On the other end, some investors avoid bonds entirely. They look at the 5% long-term return and compare it to stocks and conclude it's not worth their time. Both of those extremes, I believe, are mistakes, and the key to avoiding them is understanding what bonds are actually for. Bonds are not a growth strategy. They are a behavioral strategy. Here's what I mean. In a severe market downturn, and we will have severe market downturns, the most dangerous thing you can do is panic sell your equity positions. Locking in losses at the bottom and missing the recovery is one of the most common and most costly mistakes individual investors make. Well, bonds most often hold their value during those moments, and sometimes increase. They give you something in your portfolio that isn't falling, and psychologically, that matters a lot. The difference between a 100% stock portfolio dropping 50% and a 70-30 portfolio dropping 30% isn't just a math problem. It's a difference between a portfolio you abandon and one you hold on to. Here's how I think about when to add them. In your 20s, 30s, and even 40s, you likely don't need bonds at all. Time is your most powerful asset, and a long runway lets you absorb volatility without consequence. As you move through your 50s and 60s, your risk profile changes. You have more to lose and less time to recover. That's when a bond fund like FXNAX can start to earn its place. A common guideline is to begin adding bonds roughly 5 to 10 years out from retirement and gradually increase the allocation as you approach the withdrawal date. By retirement, many experts suggest something in the range of 20 to 40% in bonds, though your specific situation will vary. And FXNAX, Fidelity US Bond Index Fund, is a great way to do that if you're invested with Fidelity. Fidelity Fund number 4 is a Fidelity Government Money Market Fund, SPAXX, SPAXX. Here's something worth understanding about how money in Fidelity works. When you deposit your money into a Fidelity brokerage account or IRA, and it's not yet invested in a fund, it doesn't just sit idle. Fidelity automatically sweeps it into SPAXX as your default core position. So if you ever had a Fidelity account with any cash balance, there's a good chance SPAXX has been quietly earning interest on your behalf without you ever doing a thing. So what is it exactly? SPAXX invests in short-term US government securities and repurchase agreements, instruments that are as close to risk-free as the financial system offers. The fund is designed to maintain a stable $1 per share value. Your principal does not fluctuate. And at the time of this video, it's generating a yield of roughly 3.3%. Now, why does that matter? Let's put it plainly. The average traditional savings account at a big bank currently yields somewhere around 0.5%. If you have $25,000 sitting in emergency savings or short-term reserves, that's a difference of over $700 a year, just for parking your cash in the right place. In my perspective, the two best places to keep your cash reserves are high-yield savings accounts and a money market fund like SPAXX. They're genuinely comparable. Both give you quick access to your money, and both are very safe. The main distinction is that high-yield savings accounts are FDIC insured, while SPAXX is not, though it invests exclusively in US government-backed securities, which is about as close to a guarantee as anything outside a bank. The reason SPAXX earns a spot in this video is primarily due to convenience. If your investment life lives in Fidelity, having your cash here too means everything is in one place. No transfers between institutions, no waiting for ACH settlements when you want to invest. Your money is already where you need it. One thing I want to be clear about. SPAXX is not an investment in the way that other funds on this list are. It doesn't grow your wealth over time. It preserves and earns a modest interest on money you need to keep accessible. Your emergency fund, your near-term goals, cash you're waiting to deploy. The rest of your money belongs to the market. But for that cash layer, SPAXX is an excellent option. Fidelity Fund number 5 is actually a family of funds, and the one you pick from this family depends on a single number, the year you plan to retire. These are the Fidelity Freedom Index Funds. But I need to pause here and tell you something important because Fidelity has created a naming situation that frankly can be a bit confusing. Fidelity offers two separate families of target date funds. They look very similar on first glance, but they're not the same. Fidelity Freedom Fund. Actively managed, expense ratio around 0.71%. Fidelity Freedom Index Fund, index-based, expense ratio of 0.12%. One word separates them in the name, index. That's it. But that one word represents a cost difference of roughly 0.6% per year. And this could cost investors who are not careful hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades. So here are my 2 checks before you invest in any Fidelity Freedom Fund. Check 1. Is the word index in the name? If the fund says Fidelity Freedom 2050 Fund, that's likely the active version. You want Fidelity Freedom Index 2050 Fund. Check 2. What is the expense ratio? The index version are consistently around 0.12%. If you see anything above 0.2%, you are in the wrong fund. Now, with that out of the way, another question we should ask ourselves: is target date fund worth owning at all? For certain type of investors, it is genuinely quite useful. Not because it's the most sophisticated, but because it is so simple. Here's how it works. You pick the fund year closest to your expected retirement. Plan to retire around 2045? Fidelity Freedom Index 2045. Around 2055, Freedom Index 2055. And that is pretty much the only decision you need to make. Then in the early years of your investing life, the fund runs aggressive, heavily weighed towards stocks, minimal bonds. As the decades pass and your retirement date approaches, the fund automatically dials back the risk, shifting more of the portfolio into bonds and stable assets. This gradual shift is called the glide path. Every year it's adjusting. Every year it's getting you closer to where you need to be at retirement, and you don't have to do a thing except buy and hold. And what's actually inside these funds? The same components we spent the whole video discussing: a US equity index fund, an international equity index fund, and a bond index fund, all maintained and rebalanced automatically. If you want the simplest solution to investing, these Fidelity Freedom Index funds will get you 80 to 90% there. Alright, I covered a lot, so let me bring it all together in a simple summary. FSKAX is your US stock market exposure, the engine. Every publicly traded American company rebalancing itself, growing itself at a super low cost. If you're fully committed to Fidelity for the long run, FZROX gets you essentially the same thing at zero cost. FTIHX is your window to the rest of the world. Roughly 5,000 companies across every major economy outside the United States. If you're a long-term Fidelity investor, FZILX does the same job at 0%. FXNAX is your stabilizer. It won't make you rich, and that's not what it's for. It's a part of your portfolio that keeps you rational when the market gets irrational. Start building this position in the decade before you need your money. SPAXX is where your cash lives at Fidelity. Already your default core position. Already earning a competitive yield. Already accessible the moment you need it. Fidelity Freedom Index funds are for investors who want a complete, self-managing portfolio in a single fund. Set your retirement year, invest consistently, and let the glide path do the rest. Just confirm you're in the index version. And another friendly reminder, if you want a one-page summary of everything we covered today, grab your free PDF. I'll have the link to download in the description below. And one final thought before we wrap up. Recognize that effective investing doesn't have to be complex. In fact, the most successful investors are often the ones who resist complexity, who found a small number of good funds, understood exactly what they owned and why, and never let market headlines talk them out of their strategy. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have your money invested with Vanguard as well and want to learn equivalent funds within them, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.